Hi, this is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com. Welcome to That Was the Week That Was in South Carolina College Baseball for March 26th. You're saying, wait a minute, it's March 27th. What's going on? Well, what happened is for the past few days, I've been working as a volunteer at the NCAA Women's Basketball Regional in Greenville. A few weeks ago, some of my friends at Furman contacted me and asked me if I'd be interested in working at the tournament. And what my job is, I will go into locker rooms after the game and get quotes from various players, type them up, and they're handed out as quotes to the media to use. A lot of times in events like this, there are several things going on, and one reporter can't be everywhere at once. So this is just kind of a way to help them uh, be able to draw from a lot of resources to get their work done, to get their story written. It's been fun. I got to meet a lot of new people. Got to see a lot of my old friends that people I used to work with and I hadn't seen in years, so that was fun. Got one more night tonight, South Carolina and Maryland. But luckily, I was able to get most of my Sunday night things done for PalmettoStateBaseball.com. One of the things that had to push back though was this recording because I didn't get through with my other stuff till about 1:30 Sunday morning or Monday morning, excuse me. All right, let's move on to this past week. You may have to wonder whether Coach Mark Kingston at South Carolina is going to have trouble getting coaches to throw batting practice. Week before last, Monty Lee suffered a broken toe when he was hit by a line drive during batting practice. And this past week, as Derek Scott reported on the Gamecock Sports Network, assistant coach Scott Wingo suffered a broken foot when he was hit by a line drive. So I guess going to have to see if the Gamecocks assistants can get hazardous duty pay as it's going on. Well, now let's move on to this past week in college baseball in South Carolina. On Monday, Benedict got a couple of wins over Morris to break a 9-game losing streak, and notable in that was in Game 1, the Tigers stole 26 bases. They added 3 more in Game 2. And Benedict's been one of the leading teams in NCAA Division II in stolen bases for several years, just about ever since Selwyn Young got there as the coach. This is no real surprise, but they've not been able to do a lot of running earlier this season just because they've not been winning. But as it goes on, they're still apt to steal a base on it at any moment. On Tuesday, I went up to Charlotte to Truist Field to watch South Carolina play UNC Charlotte. And if you've never been to Truist Field, please go. It is a beautiful venue to watch a ball game. If you like city skylines and things like that, you're looking right at uptown Charlotte with all those tall buildings. Once it gets dark and all those lights come on in the buildings, really an impressive and beautiful thing to look at. Very nice. And if you're a minor league baseball fan, later on this season, the Charlotte Knights are the AAA team of the Chicago White Sox. They're going to have Phil Morris, the actor who portrayed Jackie Childs on Seinfeld. Also, they're going to have the gentleman who portrayed Stanley Hudson on The Office, both making personal appearances, VIP packages, and things like that. So you get to see a couple of guys that really played funny people in their acting roles they were going on. But back to the game at Charlotte that I was there for. The Gamecocks lost to UNC Charlotte 6-2. Gamecocks also showed that they have trouble scoring when they don't hit home runs. They just were baffled by the Charlotte pitching, striking out a lot. You can overlook a lot of strikeouts when you hit a lot of home runs or score a lot of runs. But when you're not scoring those strikeouts, it just kind of looks sort of frustrating as it's going on. But it is what it is. Wound up losing 6-2, and it snapped an 11-game losing streak. And if you're a Gamecocks fan, at that time you're saying, "Yeah, I hate we lost to Charlotte, but we're 20-2." So I mean, it's baseball. Those kind of games happen. Not so much in other sports, but in baseball, at any point, somebody can beat the other if they get a hot pitcher or the other team's having trouble scoring. Also on Tuesday night, Clemson was tied with Winthrop in the bottom of the ninth, and freshman Cam Canarella hit a 3-run homer to give the Tigers a walk-off win. Also, Wofford went down to Georgia Tech and beat the Yellow Jackets 8-5. Terriers seem to be back from their struggles they had a little bit earlier. So that's good for them as they open Southern Conference play, as we'll see later on in this video. Also, Lander got a nice road win over Wingate, beat them 12-9 in 10 innings. Wingate's usually one of the better teams in the South Atlantic Conference, quite often ranked nationally. Another good win was for Newberry. Newberry Trail Coker, 3-0 going to the ninth. Scored the 3 runs in the ninth to tie it. Scored 2 in the 10th to win. So the Indians at that time were on I believe it was an 11-game winning streak at that point. Moving on to Wednesday, Clemson was tied with Kennesaw State late in the game. They scored 4 runs and were able to win it 6-2. And they just hung around in the Atlanta area after that because they were playing Tech later on. Coker got a nice win over a ranked USC Aiken team, 9-3. The Cobras had a good week this week, as we will see later on. On Thursday, USC Sumter got a couple of wins over Catawba Valley, a school out of Hickory, North Carolina. It's a Division II school in junior college, but they very, very often are quite competitive with the Division I teams of junior college that are from South Carolina. And this is that was another couple of tight games. One little thing about Catawba Valley is they're having some funding issues. They may have to drop baseball. Their coach sent out a plea last week asking for support. They'd hoped for some student fee help in getting it done, but apparently there are just some various factors that lead to that not being an option. And so Catawba Valley is trying to raise some money to keep his baseball team going. I hate to see any baseball program drop, so hopefully they'll have some good luck and get things going well for them. On to Friday, most of the teams began conference play. College of Charleston would play 3 one-run games against Towson State this weekend. They won all 3, but in game 1 on Friday, they won 6-5 in 11 innings. Other winners on Friday night included Coastal Carolina, which rolled past Texas State 19-0. Erskine got a couple of nice wins over Shawan, scored in double digits in both games. Lander got a couple of wins, keeping their streak going. North Greenville was having a big series with UNC Pembroke. The Crusaders went into the weekend ahead of UNCP by 2.5 games, and so if UNCP were to sweep it, they could move into first place in the Conference Carolinas. But Crusaders took care of business in game 1, 7-1, so they knew they were going to have the conference lead no matter what happened in the final 2 games. Elsewhere, South Carolina was trailing Missouri 8-5 going to the bottom of the ninth. Again, the Gamecocks were having trouble scoring without hitting the home run. And in that ninth inning, looked kind of a struggle. They got a walk here, a hit by pitch here, and somehow got the bases loaded. Carson Denny blooped one probably about 30 feet behind first base, maybe a little bit more than that, to score 2 runs. Then they got another run to tie the score, came up with Michael Braswell, who was the hero of the rally against Georgia in game 1 on Saturday this previous week. Michael hit a ground ball to the shortstop, who made a diving stop to keep it in the infield, probably saved a run from happening right there. But he tried to throw out the runner advancing to third base. He just made a desperate try. The throw got away, went into the Missouri dugout, and South Carolina won 9-8 with a 4-run ninth. Again, they had no business winning that game, but hey, that's baseball. Elsewhere, Clemson had a lead going to the ninth inning against Georgia Tech and gave up an unearned run to force extra innings, wound up losing 4-3 in the opener of that series. I know Clemson was hoping to get back to 500 in ACC play after going 1-2 against Duke the previous week, but they did not. USC Upstate began its Big South Conference schedule with a win at High Point, so that was good for the Spartans. And Wofford got a little bit of a shock, losing to VMI 9-6 in 11 innings in the opener of their Southern Conference schedule. So that was a exciting situation for VMI to get a win over the team that's expected to be the favorite to win the conference. Let's move on to Saturday as to what was going on. Several teams had to adjust their schedules because of rain and other things that affected that. Coastal Carolina won big again in their series with Texas State in the opener of a doubleheader. They moved their Sunday game to Saturday, and the Chanticleers lost that game. As I mentioned before, College of Charleston played 3 one-run games with Towson. On Saturday, it went 17 innings before the Cougars won 5-4. Erskine wrapped up its series win over Shawan with another double-digit performance. NJCAA Region 10 play continued with Florence Darlington Tech playing USC Sumter, and the Stingers won both games of that Saturday doubleheader to improve to 9-0 in the conference. Other ones, Lander again won to complete its series sweep. Newberry won its opener against Carson Newman, but lost game 2 to see its 12-game winning streak snapped. North Greenville, as I mentioned, this was a big series against UNC Pembroke. They took care of business. Won both games on Saturday to complete a series sweep. They're now 5.5 games ahead of second place UNC Pembroke, and also Mount Olive is tied with the Braves for second place behind North Greenville. But North Greenville's only got 12 conference games left. That's a lot of ground for those two teams to make up. South Carolina got a couple of big wins against Missouri on Saturday, 8-1 in game 1. Game 2, they got behind 4-2, got a home run to tie it at 4-4, and then squeezed out a win in the 12th inning. Elsewhere, USC Lancaster got a couple of wins over Spartanburg Methodist in the Region 10 junior college play. That prompted me to move the Lancers past the Pioneers in the region rankings that I do each week, or junior college rankings. USC Upstate got a win over High Point to take a 2-0 lead in that series. Wofford came back strong against VMI to even that series with a 20-6 win. And USC Aiken dropped the first 2 games of its series with Young Harris, but won the finale. And so the Pacers are still in first place in the Peach Belt Conference, but it's just a much tighter race than it could have been if they'd gone 2-1 or even 3-0. Looking at Sunday, not as many games going on, but Clemson beat Georgia Tech 14-5. Caden Grice had a big game. He started as the pitcher, went 5 innings, allowed 1 run. Also, he hit 2 home runs and drove in 5 runs. So that's some of the production that I know that the Tigers are hoping they'll get out of him, both on the mound and at the plate. His power numbers have been down, but maybe this is a sign that good things are going to happen for him. Wofford completed a series win over VMI. Winthrop won 2 of 3 over Gardner Webb. Cody Hanna of Coker hit 5 home runs on the weekend as Coker swept Emory and Henry in the South Atlantic Conference play. That was a nice win for him, for them, I should say. And that kind of hits the highlights of games that went on this past week. Looking at the team rankings, I've got South Carolina still number 1 among NCAA Division I teams, followed by College of Charleston, Coastal Carolina, Wofford, Clemson, and USC Upstate. Those 3 through 6 teams are pretty much interchangeable that are going on, and maybe even Charleston, because sometimes when they kind of struggle, when you win 3 one-run games in the conference, that's pretty good for you. Among NCAA Division II, of course, North Greenville's now on a 15-game winning streak. It's a season high. They also won 13 games to open the season, and so 28 of their 29 wins came in a couple of streaks, and then there was one period where they were lost 2 of 3 and bounced back strong since that. Newberry, 3-1 on the week. That was good for them. They're ranked number 2 behind North Greenville in my Division II standings, followed by USC Aiken, Erskine, and Anderson. Anderson's played well the last couple of weeks, moving up, got a winning record after having a little bit of a struggle with that. Among NCAA Division III or NAI or junior or National Christian College athletic teams, Columbia International remained first place, followed by Morris, Voorhees, and Bob Jones. Those teams don't play each other a whole lot, so it's kind of tough sometimes to get a feel for them. At one point, I was thinking of moving Bob Jones up after they'd won a couple of games recently, but just didn't seem to be the right fit. In junior college, Region 10, Florence Darlington Tech, their only unbeaten team in region play, so I still have the number 1. USC Sumter, as I mentioned earlier, USC Lancaster. I moved past Spartanburg Methodist in the rankings, followed by USC Union and USC Salkehatchie. Union snapped a 9-game losing streak last week with a win over Lewisburg, so that was nice for them to have a little payback for their problems, for their struggles recently. USC Salkehatchie, unfortunately, is on a 24-game losing streak. Claflin has yet to win for new coach Scott Nestor. Hopefully things will turn around for the Panthers soon as we go through that. Coming up this week, let's take a look at some of the games that are going on. There are a couple of games at Fluor Field in Greenville this week involving Division II teams. On Tuesday, North Greenville and Lander will be playing at Fluor Field at 6:30, and I'm trying to get up to my schedule right now. And on Wednesday, Limestone and Erskine will be playing at Fluor Field. Elsewhere coming up this week on Tuesday, Coastal Carolina's at North Carolina. Before I recorded this, I noticed Coastal Carolina moved into the D1Baseball.com rankings, so that was nice for them. College of Charleston and Clemson play at Segra Park in Columbia. Get a chance to play there, renew their series. Charleston had a lead late in their game at Clemson earlier this month and wound up losing in the, I believe it's in the 9th inning, maybe in the 10th. South Carolina plays the Citadel at Joe Riley Park in Charleston. Also, Lenore Ryan is at Limestone. Newberry's at Anderson in a meeting of a couple of state teams that are playing there. On Wednesday, Wofford is at Presbyterian, and USC Aiken and Augusta are playing at SRP Park in North Augusta. They're trying to make it kind of a special thing. One interesting thing for Clemson and South Carolina this week is they both open their conference series on Thursday. Those Thursday games will be on TV. South Carolina's at Mississippi State. Mississippi State, I'm sure the Gamecock fans are saying, well, why do we draw them? It's not real good timing for the Gamecocks. Mississippi State has lost 17 straight SEC games. That's hard to believe that any SEC team could lose that many. The Bulldogs are coached by former Citadel player Chris Lemonis. They lost their last 11 games in the conference last year. They've lost their first 6 so far here. And so South Carolina is probably saying, the odds are that they're going to wake up someday. I'm sure USC's just hoping it'll happen next week. Clemson is at home against Wake Forest, one of the top teams in the ACC, maybe the top team in the ACC. They've been ranked in the top 5 much of the season. Much like South Carolina, Wake Forest likes to hit home runs. Clemson should be getting Cam Canarella back soon. He missed a few games this past week because of an illness. Pitcher Ryan Ammons, who was expected to be their Friday night starter, and he did start for Clemson the first couple of weeks, he's been out for several weeks now, I think 4 weeks. One of their spokesmen told me that they're hopefully be back in a couple more weeks, and so if that happens, that should give Clemson a boost as they go through there. Moving on to Friday, North Greenville plays Mount Olive. As I mentioned, Mount Olive is tied for second place with UNC Pembroke now in Conference Carolinas. And they're the only team on North Greenville's schedule left in the conference that has a winning record. So it'll be interesting to see if North Greenville gets through this, wins 2 or wins 3. You may as well start to engrave that trophy with North Greenville's name, I think, for regular season champ. Elsewhere, Winthrop is at USC Upstate. USC Upstate again went 3-0 in its Big South Conference opening series. Charleston Southern is at preseason Big South Conference favorite Campbell, who has been playing well, been ranked just about all year. Elsewhere, Southern Wesleyan's at Francis Marion, the Citadel's at Samford, and I'm just trying to look at some of the state matchups to see if there's anything else. Again, I'm winging it, and I apologize for that. Guess that's probably it. On Saturday, the junior colleges crank back up again. For those of you unfamiliar with it, Region 10 teams play a doubleheader on both Saturday and Sunday for a 4-game series. So this week, the top series may be Gaston College at Spartanburg Methodist. They're both chasing Florence Darlington Tech. Another great series is Florence Darlington Tech at USC Lancaster. Those are both very good series, and that's really matching top 4 teams, I guess, in the standings right now. I guess that hits that. That's probably good. Again, I'm sorry this is a little bit on the scatterbrain side, but I'm just trying to do it without notes because I had a short window to do it. I hope you enjoy my coverage of college baseball in South Carolina on PalmettoStateBaseball.com. I have a Twitter account that's Palmetto Base, where I try to provide in-game updates and other little comments and tidbits. I hope that there are other people out there that have a passion for college baseball like I do, particularly in South Carolina. If you do, please support my site. Let other people know about it. I try to do what I can to make more availability of information about college baseball teams. I know a lot of schools get all the publicity they need through other sources. They have dedicated websites for their sports teams, but some of the other teams on Division II and lower do not get a whole lot of recognition. I'm just hoping to do that, and I hope that you will continue to follow me at PalmettoStateBaseball.com. If you like what I do, drop me a note at RudyJones at PalmettoStateBaseball.com and email there. Comment on a story, anything if you have suggestions on what you'd like to see me do. I just want to try to improve the recognition of baseball in college baseball in South Carolina. Again, I'm not doing this with a script, so I apologize for the misstatements. That's going to do it for this week. I hope your team wins this week. And this is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com saying nothing could be finer than baseball in South Carolina.